Because when Eala exited the National Bank Open, she didn't just take her racket and her bags with her. She took the crowd. She took the energy. She took the electric atmosphere that had transformed Sobeys Stadium into a sea of red, white, blue, and gold. And what was left behind was a final that felt less like a championship and more like a ghost town. The backlash was swift. It was furious. And it raised a question that the tennis world is still struggling to answer. Without Eala, is there even a crowd at all? Let us set the scene properly, because the contrast could not have been more stark. When Eala played in Toronto, the stadium was packed to the rafters. 10,000 fans filled center court, waving Philippine flags, chanting Laban Alex, and creating an atmosphere that tournament director Carl Hale himself described as unprecedented. We've never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this type of effect, Hale admitted. The moment Eala's appearance was announced, seats sold out within 30 minutes. Approximately 3,100 tickets were sold after her Wednesday night match was announced, helping turn Sobeys Stadium into a celebration of Filipino pride. The crowd's energy earned praise from Eala, Leylah Fernandez, and even Jessica Pegula, who said Filipino fans were helping tennis grow internationally. It was Eala mania at its absolute peak. But then came the loss. Eala fell to Belinda Bencic in the 4th round, 6-4, 6-0. Her 7-match winning streak was over. And with her departure, something shifted. The energy that had filled the stadium seemed to evaporate. The flags disappeared. The chants faded. And what remained was a tournament that suddenly felt hollow. The women's final of the National Bank Open was played between Jessica Pegula and Amanda Anisimova, an all-American showdown that featured 2 of the most accomplished players on the WTA Tour. Pegula, the defending champion and world number 3, ultimately defended her title with a 6-3, 2-6, 6-1 victory. On paper, it should have been a marquee matchup. 2 top-tier players battling for a prestigious WTA 1000 title. But the stands told a different story. The seats that had been filled to capacity for Eala's matches were now noticeably empty. The atmosphere that had been electric was now subdued. And the fans who had packed the stadium just days earlier were nowhere to be found. And the fans noticed. Social media erupted with criticism, with many questioning why the tournament had failed to generate the same excitement for its championship match. The hashtags started trending. The comments started pouring in. And the overwhelming sentiment was one of disappointment and frustration. How could a tournament that had been so vibrant, so alive, just days earlier end with such a whimper? How could the organizers have allowed the energy to dissipate so completely? The backlash was not just about the empty seats. It was about what those empty seats represented. They represented a missed opportunity. They represented a failure to capitalize on the momentum that Eala had generated. And they represented a stark reminder that the tennis establishment is still struggling to understand the changing demographics of the sport. But the backlash went beyond just the final. Throughout the tournament, the Filipino crowd had sparked a broader debate about tennis etiquette. Some viewers criticized fans for shouting during points, arguing that the noise went against traditional tennis etiquette and could distract the players. One commenter said it was disappointing that people are shouting between points, before adding, "But man, what a crowd." Another viewer acknowledged that some fans may still be learning the expectations surrounding professional tennis, noting that Filipino sports culture is heavily influenced by the louder environments of basketball. Belinda Bencic, who ended Eala's campaign, addressed the controversy with remarkable grace. When asked about how she prepared for a crowd like that of Eala, the 10-time Swiss champion said she actually prefers that kind of crowd over the quiet ones. I never really minded that, Bencic said. Because, whenever I played Serena a couple years ago and I also played in Fed Cups played against France and Brazil, I really like it, I embrace it. I definitely prefer this over a crowd that's not really interested, or that is a little bit quiet. She added, "I was mentally prepared, but it's not something that bothers me so much." It was a classy acknowledgement from a veteran champion who understood that the energy of the crowd, even when it was not cheering for her, was what made the sport special. But the criticism of the Filipino crowd was not the only controversy surrounding the tournament. A Canadian news segment meant to celebrate Eala's rise instead sparked outrage when the Filipino star was mistakenly called American by the anchor. Fans were left furious, with many calling the mistake a stupid notion. The backlash came as Eala continued her strong run at the National Bank Open, adding yet another layer of controversy to an already tumultuous tournament. The final itself also faced challenges beyond the absence of Eala. The tournament had been hit by a wave of top star withdrawals and seed collapses that reshaped the entire competition. World number 1 Jannik Sinner, number 2 Carlos Alcaraz, and number 6 Novak Djokovic all withdrew before the tournament began. Home favorite Felix Auger-Aliassime, the world number 4, withdrew due to injury just one day before his scheduled match. And then the upsets began. Top seed Alexander Zverev, along with Daniil Medvedev, Taylor Fritz, Flavio Cobolli, and Andrei Rublev, all crashed out in the second round. 6 of the top 10 seeds were eliminated early. The result was a tournament that, from a competitive standpoint, had lost much of its star power. And when combined with the absence of Eala's fanbase, the final felt like an afterthought. The economic implications were also significant. The National Bank Open was expected to attract more than 200,000 attendees and generate nearly $60 million in GDP contribution. But those projections were built on the assumption that the tournament would feature the sport's biggest stars. When those stars withdrew, and when Eala exited early, the numbers suffered. The empty seats in the final were not just a symbolic failure, they were a financial one as well. As we wrap up this edition of the Rally Briefing, we are left with one overwhelming conclusion. Alex Eala is not just a tennis player, she is a phenomenon. She is a player who can sell out stadiums, generate global buzz, and transform a tournament into a celebration of culture and community. And when she is not there, the void is impossible to ignore. The National Bank Open learned this lesson the hard way. They had a golden opportunity to showcase the future of tennis, to embrace the changing demographics of the sport, and to build a legacy that would last for years to come. Instead, they watched as the energy drained from their tournament, as the seats emptied, and as the fans turned their attention elsewhere. The backlash was not just about the final, it was about what the final represented. It was a reminder that the tennis establishment is still struggling to adapt to a new world order, a world where players like Alex Eala are the future, and where the old guard's grip on the sport is slowly, but surely loosening. Eala, for her part, has already moved on. She has spoken about taking a short break to recharge and pamper herself. She has her sights set on the Cincinnati Open and, ultimately, the US Open. But the lessons from Toronto will linger. The tournament directors who failed to capitalize on her momentum will be forced to reckon with the consequences. And the fans who showed up in droves to support her will remember how they were treated. The message is clear. If you want to sell tickets, if you want to create buzz, if you want to be part of the future of tennis, you better start paying attention to Alex Eala. Because without her, there is no crowd. And without the crowd, there is no tournament.